To truly know yourself, you must embrace your shadow. To transmute suffering into strength, acknowledge the darkness within your soul. What if the traits you most despise in others are merely reflections of a hidden part of yourself, a disowned aspect yearning for recognition? What if confronting these shadows held the key to unlocking untapped potential, radical self-acceptance, and a life of profound authenticity? And what if the alchemists of old possessed a forgotten science to turn this darkness into light? Carl Jung, delving into the depths of the human psyche, illuminated the concept of the shadow, the disowned aspects of our personality, the repository of repressed emotions, and the source of untapped creative energy. Jung writes, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." This idea resonated deeply with the ancient alchemists, who saw the transmutation of base metals into gold as a potent metaphor for the soul's journey toward wholeness, a direct parallel to the challenging yet rewarding work of shadow integration. Throughout history, across cultures and traditions, humans have sought ways to understand and integrate their inner darkness, longing to transform their limitations into strengths and live more authentic lives. This deep-seated yearning for wholeness has driven us to explore various systems of thought, from mythology and religion to philosophy and psychology. However, modern society often encourages us to suppress or deny our negative emotions, creating a deeper divide between our conscious selves and our hidden shadows. This societal pressure to conform to idealized images of perfection can lead to feelings of incompleteness, alienation, and a sense of being disconnected from our true selves. We're often taught to fear vulnerability, to hide our flaws, and to project our disowned aspects onto others, perpetuating a cycle of judgment and disconnection. Eliade writes, "The myth transmits a model for behavior, and by that very fact gives meaning and value to life." By denying our shadows, we deny ourselves the opportunity to learn from our mistakes, to grow from our challenges, and to embrace the full spectrum of human experience. So, how can we effectively engage in this alchemical process of inner transformation, confronting our shadows and integrating them into a more complete and authentic self? In this video, we'll explore the history and symbolism of alchemy as it relates to Jungian psychology, delve into the specific stages of alchemical transformation and their psychological parallels, and uncover practical techniques for integrating your own shadow self. By engaging with this material, you'll not only gain a deeper understanding of yourself, but you'll also acquire practical tools for embracing your imperfections, transforming your limitations, and unlocking your full potential for growth and self-realization. So let's begin our journey into the fascinating world of inner alchemy and discover the transformative power that lies hidden within our shadows. What if the path to true enlightenment wasn't about ascending to some ethereal plane, but about descending into the darkest recesses of your own psyche? What if the very emotions you've been taught to suppress, your anger, your shame, your fear, held the key to unlocking a life of unparalleled authenticity and power? Inner alchemy, unlike the superficial self-help trends that promise instant gratification, demands a confrontation with the uncomfortable truths of our being. It's not a matter of wanting to grow, but a necessity for those who seek genuine transformation. Are you willing to embrace the dark night of the soul? The alchemists, those enigmatic figures of the past, understood this fundamental principle. They recognized that true transmutation could only occur after undergoing a process of nigredo, or blackening, a chaotic and often agonizing descent into the depths of the unconscious. This initial stage, far from being a sign of failure, is the essential starting point of the alchemical journey. It is a time of despair, worthlessness, and disillusionment, a period often described as the dark night of the soul, where old beliefs and identities crumble, leaving us feeling lost and adrift. It is a confrontation with the shadow, the very aspect of ourselves we have worked so hard to conceal, and represents the potential for profound growth if one can withstand its trials. What if these dark emotions aren't a sign of failure, but rather an invitation to delve deeper into the self and discover hidden strengths? After all, alchemy is not about avoiding negativity. It is about turning the negative into something useful. To truly understand this alchemical process, we must first unveil the nature of the shadow itself. Carl Jung defined the shadow as the unconscious aspect of the personality, the repository of repressed emotions, denied desires, and unacceptable traits. Jung writes, "The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality, for no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort." This shadow encompasses both the personal and the collective, the individual repressions and the shared societal taboos that shape our unconscious landscape. Let us break down the key components of this inner darkness. Repressed emotions, such as anger, fear, and shame, which become emotional baggage, weighing us down and distorting our perceptions. Denied desires, including ambition, sexuality, and creativity, which manifest as untapped potential, yearning for expression and fulfillment. And unacceptable traits, such as aggression, selfishness, and impulsivity, which become our shadow selves, lurking in the unconscious and influencing our behavior in subtle and often destructive ways. These specific components of the shadow correspond directly to fundamental alchemical processes. Calcinatio, the burning away of impurities, corresponds to confronting and acknowledging painful emotions, allowing us to release their hold on our psyche. Solutio, the dissolving of rigid structures, corresponds to releasing limiting beliefs and fixed identities, freeing us from the constraints of our ego. And putrefactio, the decomposition and decay, corresponds to accepting the death of the old self and the breakdown of ego defenses, allowing for the emergence of something new and authentic. The psychological need to integrate these shadow aspects, rather than suppress them, is paramount. The suppression of the shadow only leads to its projection onto others, creating conflict and perpetuating a cycle of unconscious behavior. But what happens when these alchemical processes are put into action? To illustrate the transformative power of inner alchemy, let's examine several case studies. Consider the mythological tale of Persephone's descent into the underworld. Initially, Persephone is depicted as an innocent and naive maiden, untouched by the darkness of the world. However, her abduction by Hades, the god of the underworld, forces her to confront the shadow. During her time in the underworld, Persephone experiences a profound transformation, embracing the dark aspects of herself and gaining newfound wisdom and strength. Her eventual return to the surface is not a return to her former innocence, but a symbolic representation of shadow integration, a testament to the power of embracing the full spectrum of human experience. Through her journey, Persephone embodies the alchemical process and teaches us that the descent into darkness is a prerequisite for true growth. Turning to literature, we find a compelling exploration of the shadow in Robert Louis Stevenson's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Doctor, id. Doctor. Jekyll, a respected and upstanding member of society, becomes obsessed with separating his good and evil sides, ultimately creating the monstrous Mr. Hyde. However, the unbridled expression of Hyde's shadow self leads to destructive consequences, highlighting the dangers of repressing and denying our darker aspects. The story serves as a cautionary tale, underscoring the importance of integrating both aspects of the self, rather than attempting to sever them. Jekyll's fatal flaw was his belief that he could control the shadow through separation, a mistake that ultimately cost him his life. This is the precise error that inner alchemy seeks to address. It is not about eradication, but integration. In a contemporary context, consider the journey of a modern individual undergoing shadow integration through therapy or self-exploration. This individual may initially struggle with self-acceptance and emotional repression, burdened by feelings of shame, guilt, and unworthiness. Through the process of identifying and acknowledging their shadow aspects, they begin to unravel the unconscious patterns that have been shaping their life. By integrating these aspects into their personality, they experience increased self-awareness, authenticity, and emotional resilience. This process is rarely easy, often involving confronting painful memories, challenging long-held beliefs, and embracing vulnerability, but the rewards are immeasurable. A greater sense of wholeness, a deeper connection to oneself and others, and a life lived with greater intention and purpose. In essence, the Negrido stage is not merely a descent into darkness, but a necessary alchemical process. Shadow integration is not a luxury for the spiritually inclined, but an essential requirement for psychological wholeness. We have explored the alchemical processes of calcinatio, solutio, and putrefactio, and reiterated the importance of embracing the shadow rather than suppressing it. Having confronted the darkness of the Negrido, we now turn to the subsequent stages of albedo, purification, and rubedo, integration, where the alchemist begins to purify the soul and integrate the shadow aspects into a new, more complete self. But hidden within our shadow also lies a golden shadow, unrealized positive qualities that emerge once we embrace and integrate our darker aspects, allowing us to shine with a newfound radiance and authenticity. So how do we move beyond the initial darkness of the Negrido and start to alchemically transform our shadows into gold? Having navigated the tumultuous seas of Negrido, where shadows danced and long-buried truths surfaced, do we simply resign ourselves to a life perpetually steeped in darkness? Or is there a pathway forward, a means to not only survive the confrontation with our inner demons, but to emerge cleansed and renewed? It is within this critical juncture that we encounter albedo, the alchemical stage of purification, a process as vital to the transformation of the soul as it is to the refinement of base metals into gold. But how do we discern what truly needs to be purified? And what if the discomfort of purification is simply a sign that we are shedding what no longer serves us and stepping into a brighter, more authentic version of ourselves? Albedo, derived from the Latin word for whiteness, represents the alchemical process of washing away the impurities that cloud our inner vision. It is the meticulous separation of the pure from the impure, the light from the darkness, both in the crucible of the alchemist and within the depths of the human psyche. But it is crucial to understand that albedo is not about achieving some unattainable ideal of perfection. Rather, it is about cultivating clarity, honing our discernment, and aligning ourselves with our truest values. The path to purification is fraught with challenges, as it requires us to confront not only our overt flaws, but also the subtle distortions that have become ingrained in our very being. How, then, do we begin this delicate work of separating light from darkness within ourselves? In psychological terms, this translates into several key components. First, there are emotional regulation techniques, such as mindfulness and cognitive restructuring, which allow us to distinguish between healthy emotional responses and destructive emotional patterns, helping us to process our feelings without being consumed by them. Then there are values clarification exercises that enable us to distinguish between what we truly believe and the societal conditioning that may have shaped our perceptions, freeing us from the expectations of others and empowering us to live in accordance with our own moral compass. Finally, we have boundary setting, which helps us to differentiate our own needs and desires from those of others, allowing us to establish healthy relationships and protect our emotional well-being. In contrast to the chaotic confrontation of Negrido, albedo emerges as a process of emergent order, a refining fire that tempers the soul and prepares it for the ultimate integration. To better understand albedo in action, let us turn to the timeless narratives that echo within the collective unconscious. Consider the story of Cinderella, a young woman subjected to relentless cruelty and hardship by her stepmother and stepsisters. Cinderella's initial state of oppression and servitude reflects the Negrido stage, where she is forced to confront the harsh realities of her existence. Yet, even in the midst of her suffering, Cinderella displays unwavering kindness, perseverance, and a genuine spirit. These qualities represent the seeds of albedo, the inherent purity within her that cannot be extinguished by external forces. Her acts of kindness and perseverance eventually lead to her elevation, culminating in the iconic scene where the glass slipper perfectly fits her foot. The glass slipper serves as a potent symbol of her true, purified self being recognized, revealing her inner worth and setting her on the path to a life of fulfillment. Cinderella's journey reminds us that even in the darkest of circumstances, the light of albedo can shine through, guiding us towards our own transformation. Another compelling illustration of albedo can be found in Charlotte Brant's Jane Eyre. Jane's experience as an orphan and her struggles for independence mirror the Negrido stage, where she faces adversity, injustice, and a constant battle for self-preservation. Despite the challenges she encounters, Jane remains steadfast in her commitment to her own moral compass, refusing to compromise her integrity or sacrifice her values for the sake of societal approval. Her unwavering dedication to her own moral compass and her refusal to compromise her integrity represent the essence of albedo, the process of aligning oneself with one's deepest truths. This is exemplified by her rejection of Mr. Rochester's proposal when she discovers he is already married, choosing instead to preserve her own integrity, even if it means sacrificing personal happiness. Jane's ultimate union with Rochester on equal terms, after he has undergone his own period of suffering and purification, serves as a testament to her purified spirit. The albedo stage reminds us that true love and fulfillment can only be achieved when we remain true to ourselves, even in the face of adversity. In a contemporary context, consider the journey of an individual overcoming addiction. The initial descent into addiction and its destructive consequences represent the Negrido stage, where the individual is consumed by harmful behaviors and experiences a loss of control over their life. However, the process of recognizing and separating from addictive patterns marks the beginning of albedo, as the individual actively works to purify their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. This process often involves seeking professional help, engaging in therapy or support groups, and developing healthy coping mechanisms to replace addictive behaviors. The rebuilding of a healthier, more authentic life based on purified values and behaviors represents the culmination of albedo, as the individual emerges from the darkness of addiction and embraces a future filled with hope, purpose, and self-respect. This purification process is not about achieving perfection, but about achieving a greater sense of clarity, self-awareness, and alignment with one's true values. In essence, albedo is a crucial stage of purification and refinement, essential for psychological growth and the journey toward wholeness. We have explored the psychological techniques that mirror the albedo stage, such as emotional regulation, values clarification, and boundary setting, and examined real-world examples through the stories of Cinderella, Jane Eyre, and an individual overcoming addiction. We have reiterated that albedo is not about perfection, but about clarity and discernment, a refining fire that tempers the soul. Having undergone the purification of albedo, we now approach the culmination of the alchemical process, rubedo, the integration of the purified elements into a unified whole self. But it is within rubedo that we also encounter the emergence of the golden shadow, those unrealized positive qualities that emerge once we embrace and integrate our darker aspects, allowing us to shine with a newfound radiance and authenticity. Now that we've purified ourselves, how do we integrate these purified aspects into a whole, authentic self and finally achieve the gold of inner transformation? The rubedo stage awaits, promising to reveal the answers to this profound question and to guide us towards the ultimate goal of inner alchemy. Having undergone the purification of albedo, and with the question hanging in the air of how we might integrate these purified aspects into a whole, authentic self, and finally achieve the gold of inner transformation, we now arrive at rubedo, the culmination of the alchemical process. What if all the previous stages of alchemical transformation were simply preparing us for this final act of integration and self-realization? Rubedo, often referred to as the Crimson Dawn, marks the alchemist's ultimate success, a state of integrated wholeness that stands in stark contrast to the fragmented self so many grapple with. It is the emergence of a new, more authentic self, a self that embraces both light and shadow, symbolized by the vibrant color red. But what exactly does Rubedo entail? At its core, Rubedo represents the union of opposites, conscious and unconscious, masculine and feminine, light and shadow, leading to a state of dynamic equilibrium. It is the embrace of paradox and ambiguity, the understanding that true wholeness lies not in eliminating one side of the equation, but in harmonizing seemingly contradictory forces. But how can we, as modern individuals, possibly reconcile such opposing forces that exist within our own psyches? In psychological terms, Rubedo manifests through several key components, each contributing to the emergence of the integrated self. First, there is the integration of the shadow, where previously disowned qualities are embraced and integrated into the personality. Then there is the manifestation of the golden shadow, the emergence of hidden talents and positive qualities that were once buried within the shadow. Finally, there is the development of compassion and empathy, resulting from the acceptance of one's own imperfections and the recognition of shared humanity. These components, seemingly disparate, work in concert to create the alchemical masterpiece that is Rubedo. But how do these psychological components translate into the symbolic language of alchemy? Consider the alchemical symbols associated with Rubedo, each offering a unique perspective on the integrated self. The philosopher's stone, the ultimate goal of the alchemist, represents the perfected, integrated self, a being of immense power and wisdom. The rubis, the alchemical hermaphrodite, symbolizes the union of masculine and feminine principles, the reconciliation of opposing forces within the individual. And then there is the phoenix, representing rebirth and the cyclical nature of transformation, reminding us that Rubedo is not an end point, but a continuous process of growth and renewal. But here's what most people miss. The Rubedo stage isn't just about achieving some static state of perfection, but unlocking a dynamic process of continuous becoming, fueled by the ongoing integration of new experiences and challenges. How can we see this process of Rubedo in action, both in the timeless narratives of myth and literature, and in the lived experiences of individuals today? To illustrate the transformative power of Rubedo, let us first turn to mythology. Consider the story of the Egyptian god Horus, a powerful example of the integrated self born from conflict and reconciliation. The initial conflict and division between Set, representing chaos and the shadow, and Osiris, representing order and light, mirrors the internal struggles we all face. Isis's role in piecing Osiris back together after Set dismembers him symbolizes the arduous process of shadow integration, of gathering the scattered fragments of our disowned selves. The eventual creation of Horus, born from the union of Osiris and Isis, represents the birth of the integrated self, a symbol of reconciled power. Horus embodies the synthesis of opposing forces, a being who embraces both the light of Osiris and the shadow of Set, thus representing the ultimate triumph of wholeness. But how can such an ancient myth shed light on our own modern struggles? Let's now consider Siddhartha's journey to enlightenment as depicted in Hermann Hesse's novel, a literary case study that beautifully reflects the essence of Rubedo. Siddhartha's initial rejection of worldly pleasures and his pursuit of asceticism represent a denial of certain aspects of himself, a splitting off of the shadow. His eventual recognition of the value of both worldly experience and spiritual detachment signifies the integration of these seemingly opposing forces, as he comes to understand that true wisdom lies not in rejecting the world, but in embracing it fully. Siddhartha's enlightenment under the Bodhi tree where he achieves a profound understanding of the interconnectedness of all things, symbolizes the culmination of rubido, the realization of the integrated self. In fact, Siddhartha's journey isn't just about finding enlightenment, but about creating it through the active integration of all aspects of his experience. But is such a profound transformation only possible for mythical figures and literary characters? Consider the contemporary case of an individual finding fulfilling work as a result of self-acceptance and self-love. The initial struggles with self-doubt and career uncertainty reflect the shadow aspects at play, the limiting beliefs and fears that hold them back from pursuing their true passions. The process of identifying and embracing their unique talents and passions represents the manifestation of the golden shadow, the emergence of hidden strengths and capabilities that were once buried within the unconscious. The achievement of professional success and personal fulfillment as a result of integrated self-knowledge symbolizes the culmination of rubido, the realization of their full potential. But what they don't want you to know is that this professional success is merely a byproduct of a much deeper inner transformation, a shift in their fundamental relationship with themselves. This individual's journey demonstrates that rubido is not some abstract concept, but a tangible reality that can be achieved by anyone willing to embark on the path of self-discovery. In essence, rubido is not merely an end point, but a beginning a new way of being in the world, one characterized by wholeness, authenticity, and a deep sense of purpose. We've seen that the key components of rubido are shadow integration, golden shadow manifestation, and the development of compassion, each working in harmony to create the integrated self. We've explored the transformative power of inner alchemy through mythology, literature, and real-life examples, each illustrating the potential for profound personal growth and self-realization. Now that we've explored the theory and symbolism of inner alchemy, let's turn to some practical techniques for integrating these principles into our daily lives, transforming our relationships, our work, and our overall sense of well-being. Furthermore, prepare yourself for the revealing of that lost alchemical text, containing some forgotten keys to the self. So, how can we translate these profound insights into tangible actions and truly live alchemically transformed lives? Having explored the theory and symbolism of inner alchemy and posed the critical question of how we translate profound insights into tangible actions, let's embark on the path of truly living alchemically. What if every moment of your life, from the most ordinary to the most challenging, held the potential for alchemical transformation? Alchemy, often relegated to the dusty pages of history or esoteric texts, is not merely an ancient practice, but a living philosophy, a dynamic process that can be applied to any situation, transforming the mundane into the extraordinary. In today's world, we often compartmentalize knowledge and experience, keeping our spiritual or psychological insights separate from our daily lives, failing to recognize the alchemical opportunities that surround us. We learn about mindfulness, but forget to apply it when washing dishes. We study Jungian psychology, but fail to recognize our shadow in challenging relationships. But what if we viewed daily life as our personal alchemical laboratory, each task and interaction an opportunity for transformation and self-discovery? Consider the potential for transforming mundane tasks, such as washing dishes or commuting to work, into opportunities for mindfulness and self-reflection. Instead of rushing through these activities on autopilot, we can use them as anchors to the present moment, observing our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without judgment. Furthermore, we can view challenging relationships as mirrors reflecting our own shadow aspects, providing invaluable opportunities for growth and integration. A difficult colleague, a demanding family member, these individuals often trigger our deepest insecurities and unresolved conflicts, but they also offer a chance to confront and transform these shadow elements. But how can we move from simply understanding these principles to actively embodying them in our daily lives? To truly live alchemically is to embrace the transformative power of the present moment. To begin living alchemically, we must first explore specific alchemical techniques and their practical applications in daily life. Active imagination, dream analysis, and mindfulness are examples of effective techniques to integrate into the modern world. Let us begin with active imagination, which involves using guided meditation, visualization, or journaling to engage with the unconscious and explore shadow aspects. This technique, pioneered by Jung, is a potent tool for dissolving rigid ego structures, a process alchemically akin to solutio. It's like consciously entering the depths of your own mind and engaging in a dialogue with the hidden parts of yourself. But how does one practically engage in active imagination? Imagine, for example, that you have a recurring dream featuring a shadowy figure that evokes feelings of fear and unease. Using active imagination, you might revisit this dream figure in a waking state, engaging in a conscious dialogue with it. You might ask, "Who are you? What do you represent? What message do you have for me?" Approaching the unconscious with curiosity and compassion rather than judgment is critical, as it allows the shadow figure to reveal its true nature and potential gifts. Perhaps the shadowy figure represents a disowned aspect of your own power, a strength that you have suppressed due to fear of judgment or failure. By engaging with this figure in active imagination, you can begin to reclaim this power and integrate it into your conscious personality. This process is not about vanquishing the shadow, but about understanding and embracing it, recognizing its inherent value. But active imagination is only one path of many. Dream analysis serves as another invaluable technique, whereby we interpret dreams as messages from the unconscious, providing insights into hidden emotions, desires, and patterns. Dreams, in the Jungian view, are not random occurrences, but rather symbolic expressions of the unconscious mind, offering a window into our deepest fears, desires, and unresolved conflicts. This process of differentiation between conscious and unconscious content mirrors the alchemical process of separatio. Understanding the basics of Jungian dream analysis involves identifying archetypes, symbols, and recurring themes within our dreams. Archetypes are universal patterns of behavior and imagery that reside within the collective unconscious, while symbols are personal and cultural representations of unconscious content. By paying attention to these elements, we can begin to decipher the hidden language of our dreams. How can we make use of this knowledge? Keeping a dream journal and reflecting on dream content is a helpful practice to begin the process of dream analysis. Upon awakening, immediately record as much detail as you can remember about your dreams, including images, emotions, and dialogue. Then, take time to reflect on the potential meaning of these elements, considering their personal and archetypal significance. Do any recurring themes or patterns emerge? What emotions are most prominent in your dreams? Are there any figures or symbols that resonate with you on a deep level? By diligently tracking and analyzing your dreams, you can gain valuable insights into your unconscious mind and begin to integrate previously hidden aspects of yourself. But are dreams the only means? Mindfulness, the practice of cultivating present moment awareness, allows us to observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without judgment, creating space for shadow integration. It allows for a degree of coagulatio by solidifying awareness. Mindfulness is the art of paying attention on purpose in the present moment and without judgment. It is the practice of anchoring ourselves in the here and now, observing our thoughts, emotions, and sensations as they arise and pass away without getting carried away by them. Mindfulness exercises, such as mindful breathing, body scan meditation, and mindful walking, can help us cultivate this awareness. Mindful breathing involves focusing on the sensation of the breath entering and leaving the body, using it as an anchor to the present moment. Body scan meditation involves systematically scanning the body for sensations, noticing any areas of tension or discomfort without judgment. Mindful walking involves paying attention to the sensation of your feet making contact with the ground, allowing you to become more present and grounded in your body. How does this relate to the shadow? Mindfulness can help us identify and disidentify from limiting beliefs and emotional reactivity by creating space between our thoughts and our reactions, allowing us to observe our patterns without getting caught up in them. When a difficult emotion arises, such as anger or fear, we can use mindfulness to observe it without judgment, recognizing it as a temporary state rather than an inherent truth. We can also use mindfulness to identify the limiting beliefs that underlie our emotional reactivity, questioning their validity and exploring alternative perspectives. For instance, if you struggle with feelings of inadequacy, you might use mindfulness to observe the thoughts and beliefs that fuel these feelings, such as "I'm not good enough" or "I'll never succeed." By recognizing these beliefs as mere thoughts, rather than objective realities, you can begin to challenge their power and cultivate a more compassionate and accepting relationship with yourself. The integration, however, does not simply come from these theoretical understandings. The practice of alchemy is not just a theory to be understood, but a process to be lived. To bring this further to light, let's consider the case of Midas from Greek mythology. Midas's initial wish for everything he touched to turn to gold serves as a potent symbol of unchecked greed and materialism, the shadow's insatiable desire for external validation. His eventual suffering and disillusionment, as his touch turns food, and even his own daughter to gold, is a stark reminder of the destructive consequences of unbridled desire. Midas learns the value of balance and moderation after his purification through bathing in the river Pactolus, a symbol of alchemical transformation and the integration of wisdom. The tale of Midas is not merely a cautionary tale about greed, but a timeless allegory about the dangers of allowing the shadow to dictate our choices, about unchecked desires, and the transformative power of embracing humility and gratitude. But what examples are there in literature? Faust, Goethe's iconic character, offers us a reflection of the alchemical quest, emphasizing the pursuit of knowledge and the integration of earthly and spiritual realms. Faust's initial dissatisfaction with his limited knowledge and his pact with Mephistopheles to gain access to forbidden secrets represents a willingness to confront the shadow, to delve into the darker aspects of existence in search of ultimate truth. His journey through various experiences and temptations, leading to both triumphs and tragedies, symbolizes the alchemical process of transformation, the ongoing struggle to reconcile opposing forces within the self. Faust's eventual redemption through love and self-sacrifice, his final act, symbolizes the integration of his shadow aspects and the achievement of wholeness. One can find these themes echoed in Hermetic texts like the Emerald Tablet, where the alchemical journey is described as a process of descending into the darkness in order to emerge into the light. The story of Faust highlights that the pursuit of knowledge, while noble, can be perilous if not tempered by wisdom and compassion, and that true transformation requires the integration of both earthly and spiritual realms. But are these stories only relevant to figures of the past? Consider the contemporary case of an individual using active imagination to integrate their anger, learning to express it in healthy and constructive ways. This person's initial struggles with anger, their tendency to suppress or lash out, reflects the shadow's influence, the unconscious patterns that dictate their behavior. The use of active imagination to explore the roots of their anger, to understand its underlying message, allows them to access the wisdom hidden within the shadow. In this case, active imagination can allow someone to discover childhood wounds or repressed emotions that fuel their anger, bringing these unconscious elements into the light of awareness. Their eventual ability to express anger assertively and constructively, leading to healthier relationships and greater self-esteem, symbolizes the alchemical transformation of a destructive emotion into a source of strength and empowerment. What they don't want you to know is that this journey of shadow integration is not about eliminating anger, but about understanding its purpose and harnessing its energy for positive change. By learning to express anger assertively, this individual is able to set healthy boundaries, protect their needs, and advocate for themselves in a way that honors both their own well-being and the well-being of others. We have seen that alchemical principles can be applied to daily life through specific techniques like active imagination, dream analysis, and mindfulness, each offering a unique pathway to shadow integration and self-realization. To reiterate, these techniques provide practical tools for engaging with the unconscious, understanding the hidden language of dreams, and cultivating present moment awareness. The mythological journey of Midas, the literary struggles of Faust, and the contemporary journey of an individual integrating their anger all highlight the transformative potential of alchemical practice in everyday life. As you reflect on these principles, remember that self-acceptance, compassion, and perseverance are essential virtues on the alchemical journey, guiding us through the darkness and leading us toward the light. Having explored the foundations of practical alchemy, we now turn to a more esoteric and potentially transformative realm, the lost alchemical techniques that have been guarded and passed down through secret lineages for centuries. What they don't want you to know is that this knowledge has the power to shatter the foundations of your understanding and reveal the hidden architecture of reality. Remember, however, that these techniques come with a heavy burden of responsibility and must be approached with reverence and respect. Are you ready to delve deeper into the mysteries of inner alchemy and uncover the forbidden knowledge that can unlock even greater transformation if wielded with wisdom and responsibility? Prepare yourself, for the secrets are about to be revealed, but proceed with caution, for the path ahead is not without its perils. As we draw to the close of this exploration into the psychology of inner alchemy, it is appropriate that we shift from the active pursuit of knowledge to a more contemplative and reflective stance. Perhaps even slow down the pace of delivery somewhat, allowing these final insights to resonate more deeply. For now, we turn towards synthesis, a pulling together of threads. In our journey, we have traversed the alchemical landscape, confronting the shadow in its nigredo, purifying the psyche in the albedo, and ultimately striving for the integration of all aspects of the self in the rubedo. Each stage, as we have seen, builds upon the previous, leading us toward a state of wholeness, a state of psychological transmutation where base metals are transformed into inner gold. It is vital to remember that shadow integration is not a singular event, but a continuous, cyclical process, an ongoing dance between light and darkness, consciousness and unconsciousness. At the outset of this journey, we posed a seemingly paradoxical question. Can we truly find light within darkness? Through the exploration of Jungian psychology, alchemical symbolism, and various mythological and literary examples, we have come to see that embracing our darkest aspects can indeed lead to the greatest self-discovery. Perhaps your understanding of shadow integration has deepened, evolving from a theoretical grasp to a practical recognition of its transformative potential in your own life. Perhaps you can now see more clearly how to apply techniques like active imagination, dream analysis, and mindfulness to your daily existence. It is in embracing our imperfections and vulnerabilities, as Jung himself noted, that we truly achieve wholeness and authenticity. Only by accepting our flaws can we unearth our true strengths, transforming the lead of our shadows into the gold of our truest selves. The journey of inner alchemy, ultimately, is a reflection of the universal human quest for meaning, self-realization, and connection to something greater than oneself. The impulse to improve, to strive towards our potential, is a fundamental aspect of human nature, and alchemy provides a path for that betterment available to everyone. Our pain in this understanding is not an end, but a beginning. Our flaws, similarly, are not liabilities, but hidden advantages, waiting to be discovered. As we conclude, I encourage you to continue exploring your shadow self and applying the principles of alchemy to your daily life. Delve deeper into Jung's writings, explore books on alchemy and symbolism, or seek out websites dedicated to shadow work. Experiment with practices like active imagination and dream analysis, allowing them to guide you on your path of self-discovery. These explorations are not mere intellectual exercises, but opportunities for profound growth, self-realization, and the integration of all aspects of your being. Like the alchemists of old, you can transform the lead of your shadows into the gold of your true self. Let us embrace the darkness within and watch as it blooms into a garden of light. Thank you for joining me on this alchemical journey.